In the previous panels we had taken a closer look at the thesis of the Zohar that addressed the issue as to why would HaKadosh Baruch Hu bring a Negat Tzarat upon the homes of the Jews living in Eretz Canaan, the V'natati Negat Tzarat. According to the Zohar, this was on account of a Ruach Mesa'ava, a Ruach HaTumah, that existed in Eretz Canaan, on account of the pagan practices that permeated throughout the entire land, and if Eretz Yisrael was to become the new permanent dwelling place for HaKadosh Baruch Hu's presence, then this Ruach Mesa'ava needed to be removed. This was accomplished through the demolition and the rebuilding of the homes. To which the Rebbe asked the question that according to the thesis of the Zohar, then this requirement theoretically should have applied to every dwelling in Eretz Canaan. We earlier noted two reasons why this was not the case. That the V'natati Negat Tzarat was limited in scope. It did not apply to every dwelling. To apply some context, we digressed and looked at the Kabbalistic distinction that is made between Klipat Noga and the Shalosh Klipot HaTameyot. The Rebbe in the Sikha argued that only those structures that were involved with pagan worship were the ones that were therefore linked to the Shalosh Klipot HaTameyot, and as such, because they were involved in Avodah Zarah, these physical buildings were asur, bound to the Shalosh Klipot HaTameyot. They could not be released from their state of Tumah, and hence the only option for these buildings was that they required destruction and rebuilding. However, majority of the building in Eretz Canaan, the Rebbe argues, did not have a presence of the Shalosh Klipot HaTameyot, rather that of Klipat Noga. Even though the religious beliefs of their owner was one of pagan worship, the physical buildings were permeated with a lesser degree of Klipat Noga, a level of Klipa that can be rectified and returned to a level of Kedusha by the mere ownership of that building by a Jew, and certainly if the building became a vehicle for the performance of a mitzvah, such as the fixing of a mezuzah. In a short footnote, the Rebbe underpins his thesis by referring us to a Maimar Chazal recorded in the Bereshit Rabbah that offers a midrashic interpretation to the statement in Bereshit 23:17 and 18 that Vayakam Tzedei Ephron Asher B'machpelah Li Avraham Lemikna. That Maimar Chazal is Huva B'Pirish Rashi al HaPasuk, is one adopted by Rashi, and although is drawn from the Medrash, is incorporated as part of a Pshuta Shel Mikra understanding of the text. We shall now take a closer look at the Pasuk along with the commentary that Rashi provides. Bereshit 23 is concerned primarily with the purchase of a burial spot for Sarah who had passed away on or around, or as Midrash would have it, on account of the incident of the Akedah. After much toing and throwing between Avraham and the owners of the land in which Avraham wished to bury Sarah, we are told that Vayishkol Avraham le'Ephron et HaKesef. Avraham weighs out, hands over the 400 silver shekels to Ephron, and in line with good business practices, there was also the fine print. We are told that the Sedeh Ephron Asher B'Machpelah, Machpelah was what we would nowadays call a township. In the township of Machpelah, there was a sadeh, a field, a tract of land belonging to Ephron, Asher Lifnei Mamre. This field faced the city of Mamre, and included in the sale was the sadeh, the plot of land, along with Vahamara Asher Bo, a cave which was located in that plot of land. The sale also included V'chol ha'etz Asher B'sadeh, all of the trees, whether fruit-bearing or otherwise, that were in that sadeh, Asher b'chol gvulo saviv, which were within the entire border of this sadeh. And we are told that Vayakam the Avraham lemikneh. It is to this phrase that we have the commentary of the Medrash Rabbah. But first, a look at how the translators deal with this phrase. The word Vayakam is used about 30 times in the Chamisha Chumshei Torah, many more with its various permutation of present, future, singular, plural. Except for a few instances, it describes the process of moving from a stationary position, such as lying down or sitting, to a standing position involving movement from point A to point B, such as the obligation to recite the Kriyat Shema b'shachbacha uvakumecha. The problem here is that we are not dealing with a human being, but we are dealing with a field, the Sedeh Ephron Asher b'Machpelah, and hence the translators struggle with offering a user-friendly translation. Vayakam le'Avram le'mikneh, the Sdei Ephron became Avram's as a purchase, is from the Art Scroll. Aria Kaplan, the field of Ephron became Avram's uncontested property. The translators to Rab Shimshon Raphael Hirsch that the Sdei Ephron was established to Avraham as a possession. Similar to the Gutnick translation, obviously the Sedeh Ephron, an inanimate object, cannot physically rise up or stand up, and hence the translators all use an alternative translation to the Kuf Vav Mem, to establish, to confirm, to remain, to endure, which is drawn from the second commentary of Rashi to the words Vayakam Sedeh Ephron, the one that Rashi identifies as the Pshuto Shel Mikra. There is, however, an earlier option presented by Rashi, one drawn from the Medrash Rabbah, that Tekuma Haita Law, that the field had an ascension, which links the Kuf Vav Mem to the process of rising up. It is this first option provided by Rashi that underpins the Rebbe's thesis that the mere ownership of a house located in Eretz Canaan, presumably used by people who were involved with pagan worship, that the very fact that the ownership passed from the Canaanite to the Ben Yisrael removed the Ruach Misa'ava from that home. The home did not require a Neged Tzara, which was limited to buildings and structures that were used in the actual worship of Avodah Zarah. In the next and final panel for part 1, we shall be taking a closer look at the commentary of Rashi.